Hello, this is Ray Albert with Milford CT Marketing, and I want to welcome you to this video about how to make $10,000 as a student. Well, you know what? Absolutely everyone wants to know how to make $10,000 as a student. The issue is that there are a lot of BS out there, a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people making it seem like a lot easier than it really is. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the three main components you need to focus on to make $10,000 as a student. Now in this video, I'm going to give you the three main components. The first thing you need to hit $10,000 a month as a new student is the right vehicle. Let me tell you what I mean. You see, you need a means, an opportunity that is big enough, not too risky, where you can achieve $10,000 a month as a student. You need a vehicle, a way that you can make that sort of money, but a way in which you're not going to risk losing all of the money that you do have. So the first thing that I will tell you is trading is out the window. I'm going to be very honest with you. There are a lot of traders out there that are trying to sell you BS, because when you sign up with their little affiliate link and you get your $10 free, blah, 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 when you lose money, that's where they actually make the money. They don't make money on that little $10 or $20 sign up that they don't even get when you join. They make money when you lose. Their incentive is for you to lose money. And listen, that's just the truth of it. Even if you have $1,000, for you to take $1,000 and then turn it into $10,000 or $20,000 in a single year is very difficult. The amount of successful trades, the average of all of those successful trades is very, very difficult. Whereas for you to take $1,000 and invest that into starting a very clean, lean online business, I mean, by the end of the year, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. I don't think realistically you're going to hit hundreds of thousands of dollars in your first year. It happens sometimes, but it's very unrealistic. But by the end of the year, you should be making more than your average salary if you were just working a traditional 9 to 5. And the best part is you should be able to do it remotely. So to make money, you need something that spits out free cash flow. And what I mean by that is profit that you can use. Because here's the other thing I'm going to tell you, but people always look at the net worth. They go, oh yeah, he has $100 million net worth, but his entire net worth is in his company, and he can't make money out of his company because he may have investors or this or that. Or you have certain people, for example, a lot of people in the property game where they have a lot of money. Their portfolio is worth a lot, but they're not very cash rich. They don't have a lot of cash laying around. They're wealthy, but their money is tied up in other places. And that's not the place where you want to be when you're first starting a business. So a lot of businesses, like for example, building a proper e-commerce brand. And by the way, when I say proper e-commerce brand, once again, I'm speaking from experience. I had an eyewear company a few years ago. And the thing is, the packaging, everything is beautiful. We've got this beautiful black velvet finish on the inside. So this business is, okay, it's my smallest business. It makes around $1.2 to $1.5 million a year. And that sounds great until you realize that we have 50% margins. So I'm only keeping 50% of that money. And it's even worse when you realize that any of the profit that I make, I can't keep. I have to roll that into new stock, because especially a product like this is very difficult to make. So for me to put an order now for about 5,000 to 10,000 units, I may only get that in 3, 4, 5 months, depending on the time of year. So even though someone would look at it and go, that's a $1.5 million a year business. At 50% margins, you never actually get to keep that profit because you always have to reinvest it into business. And that is very different from, for example, a service-based business. So if you're offering a service to clients, whether that be building their marketing funnels, whether that be doing their short form content, long form content, TikToks and Reels, and doing lots of those and creating many accounts for them and distributing them all over the internet, all the way to doing, for example, their Google ads and focusing especially on Google ads for e-commerce brands as an example, then listen, Whatever the service is, it needs to have one of two things: high perceived value to the client. And what I mean by that is it needs to be something that they're like, oh wow, this is worth it. I'm more than happy as a business to pay this external consult or service provider $1,000 a month, $3,000 a month, you name it, or it needs to have high leverage. And what I mean by that is, listen, you can still be an online personal trainer, but if you want to make $10,000 a month, you need to hire people below you who work as coaches. And that way you're an online professional trainer and you do some of the coaching, but then you may have coaches underneath you, personal trainers that work with local gyms, and you just pay them a small fee and they do the rest of the coaching. So that's leverage. Or let's say you have an agency that creates YouTube thumbnails for people. Thumbnails on YouTube are such an important aspect of video, but people don't pay crazy amounts for thumbnails. But if you can hire someone in Brazil, Romania, India for $1,000 a month, which is a great salary there, especially remotely, and their work is able to produce $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month in terms of business for your thumbnail agency or for your thumbnail performance marketing businesses, whatever you want to call yourself, the point is that the average, that is leverage. That's you being able to take something off of your plate. So either you need to offer a service or guidance, consulting on something that brings so much value to a business that you can actually make $10K a month just as a solopreneur, or more realistically, you be able to do it solo until $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, and then you need to start using leverage. And you need to maybe make a little less on the margin, but make far more money at the end of the month because you have people who can deliver these things for you. Just remember, with the business models that I'm talking about, you're not going to make $100 million. I'm going to be very honest with you. But the other thing is that you're not going to do is you're not going to go broke. And that's the unfortunate thing with a lot of these businesses. For example, if you give my main business, my software company, that is a business that gets into the multiple nine figures, and that's a cool and fine as well. But you need to realize that there's a big chunk of money needed that I had to put forward to start the company, and that's number one. But then I had a massive competitive advantage of a massive audience. And even me, it took me 4 years to be like, listen, I'm not ready. I don't feel like I have the skill set, the understanding, and the sort of influence to start a business worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So what did I do? I started a service-based business back in 2016, and I ran that business for 6 years. So just remember, the business model that gets you to $10,000 a month, and by the way, I managed to get my service-based business up to $150,000 a month in profit, can never get further than that. I tried. I'm sure someone else has been able to do it, but for the way that I wanted to run it, which was lean, remote, no office, I was pretty happy with that. So, as I was saying, the business that gets you the $10K a month will not necessarily get you to $100 million, but that's okay. Baby steps here. Choose the right vehicle for your right career stage that you're at. And then the next component to making $10,000 a month, once you find the right vehicle, is to stretch out the timeline. And here is the very fortunate thing about social media. You see, 20 years ago, if you were, let's say, 21 years old and you were making $4,000 a month without having to do a traditional 9 to 5, you would think that you were living like a king. You would think like you were a baller, man. You would think that you're killing it. And we live in such a messed up world where now you look online and you think, I'm 21 years old and I don't work a traditional 9 to 5 and I have a location freedom and I have time freedom. I can wake up whenever I want, but I'm only making $4,000 a month. I'm not making $10,000 a month. And you feel depressed because of it. How messed up is that? And by the way, I even know that I have a part to play in that because what I've been able to do in my career at my age is not normal. But that's why I always like to tell people that, listen, what I've done is very unrealistic, and a third of it was an incredible dedication and hard work. A third of it was timing, creating the right business at the right time. And the last third of it was luck or God, whatever you want to call it. Whether you're a person or faith or not, it's up to you. So I like to make that very clear to people. And then I was reading a book a week and putting it on YouTube. So you need to understand that I started my first business, my first venture at that point. I was more of a side hustle, but still I was making a few $1,000s a month back in 2014. Granted, I only did that for a few months, and then that business model stopped working, and then I moved to the next thing. But the point is, I was putting in the work between 2014 and 2017, and it took me 3 years to have my first $10,000 month. And that's fine. That's pretty cool if you work as hard as I did. Do I think it will take you 3 years? No, because it's so crazy. The internet moves so quickly. Back in 2014, I didn't have the options that you have today. Even things like getting payment processes were so difficult back then. Whereas these days, you have so many more options. So do I think that it will take you 3 years if you pick the right vehicle and follow all the advice that I give you in this video? Do I think it will take you 3 years? No, honestly, no. But even if it does, who cares? I really cannot stress how vital it is that you set your expectations to make $10,000 a month. Set your expectations not in months, but in years. Don't think how many months it's going to take me. Think how many years. Now, here's the thing. If you achieve it quicker, bless you. That's amazing. I'm over the moon for you. And listen, try to get rich faster. Of course, do it. Wealth needs to be built slowly, and wealth is built over time. But try to get rich. Try to make as much money as you can ethically and normally, that is. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to set these expectations for you because here's the thing. Many of you guys will try, and let's say you're giving your absolute best for 6 months, and in your expectations are, oh, within 6 months I was expecting to do $7,000 already, and you're only doing $1,200 from your online business. Dude, you're making $1,200 online. Do you realize how amazing that is? And here's the beautiful thing. When it rains, it pours. And by the way, that also applies negatively as positively in life. And the point here is that it usually is how business works. And this is what I can tell you now. Coming up to 10 years since I've started my first side hustle and getting to the point where I have a conglomerized set of businesses, over 150 employees, the way it usually works is usually something like this. It goes like this, and you flatline for the longest time. And right as you're thinking like, am I just going to be stuck here forever? It shoots up. And then you flatline. It shoots up. And by the way, within these points, you have little down moments and stuff like that. But the point here is that there's a lot of flatlining. There's a lot of you getting a new level in your life and then really cementing it, really setting that foundation. So I wanted to make this clear, and I wanted to make this one of the other components, just so that way your expectations are clear. They're in the right place and you don't quit before you even properly try. Now, the last component to making $10,000 a month, and it's kind of like if you're running a marathon, I would much rather tell you people that, hey, on mile 18, that's going to be the tough mile. That's really where things are going to get rough, because at least when you're facing something, if you have context beforehand, it makes it a lot easier and you feel less alone. So I want to give you guys context, not only for how to get to 10K a month, but what happens once you hit 10K a month. You see, the third component is not just getting there, it's staying there. You see, making $10,000 a month, and once again, I'm trying my best here not to be insensitive. I get it. I have done it, and I've witnessed thousands of people do it, even in my own proximity. So I know that for me, it may seem easier than for you guys. For some of you guys, you may be looking at this and going, okay, well, it's easy for you, but trust me, you'll understand in time. But making $10,000 a month is the easy part. continuing to make $10,000 a month, that's where it gets difficult. And also keeping that money and then multiplying it, growing your wealth over time. And rather than acting like some new money idiots learn from old money, even in my situation, even though I am new to money, I knew from day one that I would make it. But I always promised myself that I would study old money to understand how to keep it and multiply my wealth. So the third component of making $10,000 a month is understanding that once you get there, you're not done. That is simply just the beginning. Now it's time to cement your place. Have that baseline. And the crazy thing is, we all have financial baselines. For me, I remember when my baseline was $1,000 a month, and this was around 6 years ago. I was still in school at this point, and that doesn't mean what you're trying to make, what you're aiming to make. It just means if you go below that point, it will keep you up. You're like, this doesn't match your identity. You're like, this isn't me. And I remember when I went from $1,000, then I went to $5,000, and then went to $10,000. And listen, since then, I've been very blessed to have an amazing career, and it's gone up to $100,000 a month and now $1 million a month. And you know, God willing, at some point I'll be a few $1 million a month, and that'll be my absolute baseline. I can't even conceive a reality where it's less than that. So the point I'm trying to make is once you get to 10K a month, it's more than about making an identity. It's more than about making that as your baseline. As I said, your financial identity is not what you're aiming for. It's where anything below that and you would just feel off. You'll be like, that isn't me. I'm better than this. So, number one is to get to 10K a month, and once you get there, make it your financial identity. And once that is solid and that looks locked in, then you keep going and keep going up the ranks. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has been useful to you. And as always, I'm watching you from afar and I'm rooting for you.